Thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective, the podcast with subject matter experts in marketing. So marketers today have so many options from which to choose for marketing conferences to attend. You can find so many options for so many different specialties, from SEO to SEM to social media to affiliate to data to direct mail, and the list goes on and on. Many of them have tremendous value. However, if part of your role as a marketer includes lead generation and driving customer acquisition, then you probably understand the value of LeadsCon, the biggest conference specifically built for creating a go-to conference marketplace for lead generation experts, thought leaders, buyers, sellers, and those interested in performance marketing. Warren Pickett is the content director for LeadsCon and heavily responsible for its growth, which has evolved now into its second decade of success with a twice-a-year event for B2C and B2B marketers. So let's dive into the open water with a lead gen shark and the LeadsCon expert on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Warren, thank you for joining us on A Shark's Perspective. I'm really excited as somebody who's attended LeadsCon over the years, multiple versions of it and in different cities. I'd like you to talk a little bit about you and your own career and how, what pulled you into LeadsCon.
Yeah, well, Kenneth, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. My background actually is in journalism. I got my degree and was first involved in technical editing and then moved over to magazine editing and went to work for a B2B publisher. And we started doing one-day special events. We were doing IT events, mostly product launches with HP and Unisys and Microsoft. And from there, I got involved in, transitioned a job and got involved in ad tech. And I'd never really been exposed to digital marketing or digital advertising. And I was a content director for ad tech for about 8.5 years and really enjoyed my time there, really enjoyed growing and understanding an emerging industry. And from there, I grew over and joined the team at Access Intelligence, which had just bought LeadsCon. And I've been there for 5 years. So I've been involved with LeadsCon for quite a while now. And I love the community. I love the show.
So you were in print advertising, became
Correct.
content director for a print advertising group for an ad tech piece, and that got you into digital marketing.
Yeah, I've always been on the the editorial side of things. So I've always done the content. I've worked on websites with the content angle. I've worked on newsletters, print magazines. And then it was just kind of a natural transition to start working on events as well and working with great speakers and identifying what are the emerging topics, what are the trends, and building a sense of community where we can help educate people and bring the right thought leaders to each event that we were working on.
Yeah, absolutely. And ad tech's a great place to go for thought leaders. So let's talk a little bit then about how did LeadsCon get started and how have you seen it sort of evolve? It's good news that you just celebrated your 10-year anniversary with LeadsCon.
Yep.
But talk a little bit how you've seen the premier performance marketing event grow since its inception to where it is today.
Yeah, the event was started. Really, we're getting close to 12 years now. It's amazing. But a gentleman named Jay Weintraub and his business partner, Michelle Troop, they founded LeadsCon. Jay had seen an opportunity in the market. There was obviously a lot of different ways to advertise back in the day. And for performance marketing, that really meant a lot of direct mail type pieces. But when the internet really took off and people started to see an opportunity to do measurable marketing online, there wasn't an event to service that need to help people do lead generation that we think of today. And so Jay wanted to build that community. He wanted to foster an event that would bring people together. And as you said, we've seen the event just take off and grow. LeadsCon Las Vegas was the first, but we expanded to doing LeadsCon New York, and now that has transitioned to being Connect to Convert, which is our reimagined and rethought, East Coast event. And really, we've just seen an explosion. People think about lead generation in a traditional sense as being a lot of form completion and getting people's information. But, with the explosion of mobile, with the explosion of the way that call marketing has evolved, it's much more than just, asking somebody to fill out a form to raise their hand and show interest in the product or service. And so we're always looking for new opportunities. There's obviously a lot of new technology with machine learning and artificial intelligence coming into play now. And so it's really fun to watch the evolution of what we think about as lead generation.
100%. Yeah, I can't imagine how much. You'd think of all advertising, how much it's changed over the 10 years. I'm sure
Right.
it's been just completely reflective in everything. And I've also seen. I've been to both the events in Vegas and the ones in New York, and it is you find a different group of advertisers, agencies, and publishers show up. So it is I know especially with the one in Boston this year, you're probably going to see even a more diverse crowd come to both. You have a lot of the staple folks that always show up, but it's good to see
Right.
a little difference in both. So what should people expect out of attending? A lot of people, especially marketing, have been to conferences, but what should people expect out of attending either a LeadsCon or a Connect to Convert? When they walk through the doors, what should they expect?
Yeah, we've always prided ourselves in really being the event where we foster that community and we allow people to do business. It's a great place for the attendees to come to not only learn, also to stay on top of the new technologies and understanding what's in the expo hall, the new, resources and service providers that are there. But more than anything, it's a place for them to come do business, for them to network, to either find new customers or reconnect with their existing customers. And, that just spills out of the event. We see lots of parties. We see a lot of companies within the industry promoting LeadsCon, but then also doing a lot on their own around the event. And, we've done our best to really distinguish the difference between what is now LeadsCon Las Vegas, which is in the spring, and Connect to Convert, which, like you said, we're moving for the first year to Boston this October. LeadsCon is really about performance marketing. It's about helping the lead generators, the lead sellers and buyers, and those lead aggregators come together to do business, to learn about what's happening in the industry and how things are evolving. Whereas Connect to Convert, we are expanding that pool. We will always have the staples, as you mentioned, around lead generation and around performance marketing, but we're also trying to attract digital marketers to the show and help them understand what performance marketing is about. So whether you're an agency, whether you're a brand marketer, there's so much to learn about measurable marketing, and we're covering everything along the customer journey at Connect to Convert. So people can really expect to learn everything from the top of the funnel all the way to the bottom of the funnel at Connect to Convert. Whereas LeadsCon is a little bit more, that middle of the funnel where you are really trying to get people to, raise their hand, to show and express interest, and to give you their information so that you can follow up with that lead and then hopefully, change that from a marketing lead into a sales lead.
So how does it differ? There are 1,000 conferences these days, and there are limited budgets. There are tons of lists out there for top digital marketing conferences and top SEO conferences and top affiliate marketing conferences. How does LeadsCon and Connect to Convert, how do they differ from other digital marketing type conferences?
Right. We definitely pride ourselves on being the event for the performance marketer. We also have had, I think, thanks to Jay and Michelle's original ideas around the event and the way that they fostered the community, we've had a very high success rate of drawing executives to the event. And so when you look at the audience makeup that comes to LeadsCon, that comes to Connect to Convert, we're really looking at a lot of buying power. And so we have the decision makers at the event. We have those people who are either a C-level title or they're a director and above, a VP, an EVP, and SVP title. And they're the ones that have the ability to make a decision, and they have that purchase power around their product or service. And so the lead generators like us because they can come, they know they're going to find a good audience to talk to. The lead buyers like us because they're going to come, they know they're going to have a lot of opportunity to find just the right partners that they want to work with. Whether that's a technology solution, whether that's a lead provider or a publisher, they're going to have great exposure to the right people at each year's event. So we're very fortunate that we have, like you said, a lot of people who come to the event who are regulars, but we're always obviously trying to expand that and draw people into the industry for the first time as well.
Yeah, and I think as well that the audience makeup, you'll hear on a Shark's perspective, the kind of speakers that I'll typically have on here are a lot of people that have presented at your events. I mean, so talk a little bit about what kind of speakers typically present at LeadsCon.
Yeah, we've had just really a variety. We always try to attract the brands. We love to have brand marketers and the buy-side speakers come to the event. And so we're always attracting them, trying to get them to the show. But we also do bring in marketing experts. We bring in book authors. We bring in technology companies as well. And both with Connect to Convert last August in New York and this year in the spring in Las Vegas, we partnered with LendingTree to do an innovation challenge where we're highlighting those companies that are emerging, the startups, but also the emerging companies that are coming up with great solutions around customer acquisition, around financial technology, and the lead generation process. And so we have a lot of young companies that come to speak, but we also have veteran companies in a lot of the crude and tried industry verticals, so insurance and education, lending and financial services that are going to be really helping the audience understand how those different markets are evolving with regards to lead generation and performance marketing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You see pretty much every part of the spectrum at this event, and they're all, whether it's social or paid search, display social, it's online reputation management, whatever the speaker is, they're generally giving valuable insight into the lens of a performance marketer, and that's something I find very valuable. It kind of funnels people in the right direction. So it's a massive event. It's massive, 2 events. The hall, for example, ton of great options for people, whether you're an advertiser, agency, or publisher, to go in and speak to. There are a ton of speakers. There's a ton of content, a ton of emails. So talk about what the challenges are with putting together a massive event like this, because I think that's something where you show up, you bought your plane ticket, you got your hotel room, and then you go to the event and you listen to some speakers, make some connections, write some interesting things down, and close a couple of deals. But it's a lot of work with what you do and putting the whole events together. Talk a little bit about the challenges, especially when you figure what happened in Vegas in 2017. There's a lot of it's a new perspective around large events.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely fun to bring, people together. We typically have close to 3,000 attendees at LeadsCon Las Vegas. We have anywhere between, 1,800 to 2,000 at our East Coast event. And so it is a matter of moving a lot of bodies to make sure that they have content and opportunity to meet one another. I think one of the biggest challenges for us is always trying to find ways that we can foster that networking, that interaction between the attendees. And so, we selfishly, from a content perspective, I love seeing people in the sessions, but I know they need to have an opportunity to walk the hall. They need to have an opportunity to go grab a bite to eat or a cup of coffee with a colleague and sit down and have a business discussion. And so, we look for other ways that we can foster that interaction, whether it's a reception, whether it's a luncheon, um, giving them, planned breaks throughout the day where they can have time to go do the things that they need to, but also get value out of the event. I think another big challenge for us is just making sure that, people do understand the value of coming to LeadsCon. We don't want somebody to come to Vegas and sit outside the doors of the event. There's so much more value when you participate, when you get inside the doors. And so we're always looking for ways to encourage people to come in, to make sure that they're rubbing shoulders with the right people and maximizing their time. Everybody is so time constrained these days. And so, come enjoy the time, enjoy the people that you meet, make new connections, reconnect with old friends. But come into the event and realize the value of why we do this and why we bring everybody together.
Yeah, I agree with that because there are a lot of great events like South by Southwest and CES that are, and a ton more that are large events where it's almost sort of like, going to the mall and people watching. It's they have great content, but at LeadsCon you kind of know what you're there to do,
Yeah.
and it doesn't. If you can engage a little bit, you get a lot out of it just from the meetings and connections you can make. So when you talk about the themes in lead generation, obviously lead generation has evolved immensely, but what are some of the common themes and challenges that you see emerging in successful lead generation?
I think obviously it has evolved a lot. I think with lead generation, we see more scrutiny than ever. There's certainly more focus through the lens on, regulation and compliance. And so we want to foster an industry that is healthy, right? We want to make sure that people are being good stewards of the information that they're given. There's always that trade-off when somebody reaches out and raises their hand and says, yeah, I'm interested in getting more information on insurance or a mortgage or, some other product or service. They're willing to give you information and you're hopefully giving them assistance, you're giving them help, you're pointing them in the right direction, but you've got to be a good steward of that information. And so with the show, we're always trying to make sure that as the industry evolves, as there's more scrutiny placed on lead generation, that we're at the forefront, that we're helping people understand best practices and how to be a good player in the industry. We also certainly support groups like Leads Council, which is the industry association for lead generation. Leads Council originated with LeadsCon and within the past year has become an independent organization. But they're doing a lot of great things to, again, foster the right activities within the industry and making sure that everybody is being responsible as a lead generator. And so, we want to make sure that people are staying up on, again, the emerging technologies, the way that, certainly marketing automation is changing things and the way that consumers are interacting with companies, the way that they choose to interact. There's a lot of fragmentation in the marketing landscape. And, nobody wants to be spammed with email or phone calls. They want to make sure that if they express interest, that it's, valuable for their time, that they're getting the information they need to help them make a good decision for their own life. And so we want to make sure that, as people are working to market their services to customers, that they're really, doing it in an appropriate way and that they're using technology effectively and efficiently, and that consumers feel like they're making, receiving good quality value out of those interactions, right? So we just see more and more technology coming into play. We see more regulation coming into play, and that's not going to change. Those things are evolving down the line.
So how are the conferences helpful for each of the three groups that are typically going to show up? I mean, you're heavy with advertisers, you're heavy with agencies, you're heavy with publishers. What can each of
Right.
those groups kind of get as a benefit of attending a performance marketing conference like LeadsCon?
Yeah, we'll start with advertisers. Obviously, they're the ones who are looking. They're typically brand marketers. They're trying to find ways that they can get their product or service out there. And again, they're looking for technology solutions. Maybe they're looking to add to their technology stack. They're looking for the right companies to partner with, and they're looking to be educated about the way that the industry is trending. And so I think we do all those well, connecting them with the right people at the show, giving them the resources and the tools to do that so that their time is not wasted when they're at the event. We try and make the exhibit hall as easy for them and accessible to them to walk as possible. And then in the conference, we're really trying to educate them, to give them outlets where they can talk to fellow advertisers. They can get more information about what other advertisers are doing, either through case studies or examples or best practices. And so we think we have a lot to offer there. When it comes to agencies, especially with Connect to Convert, we're trying to expose them more to what their clients may or may not be doing. And again, that may come down to emerging technology. It may come down to exposing them to how data is being used and why measurable marketing makes sense for them and for their clients. And so, there's a lot of different ways that agencies are working with clients these days. We want to make sure that they are in the know and that they understand, how do I make sure that my clients are as effectively marketing their services as possible, and exposing them to ways that consumer behavior and the ways that consumers are using not only their cell phones and laptops, but other ways that they're able to engage with customers. Agencies obviously are looking for that, and they want to make sure that their customers, their clients are on their game. And then for publishers, we view them a lot of times as the lead generators. They're the ones who are they're attracting people around a topic, around a product or a service. And whether that's in education, whether that's in healthcare or other types of insurance, they're able to build those lists of the right people at the right time looking for the right solutions. And so, we want to make sure that those publishers, again, are making the right connections at the show, that they know, especially on the regulatory and the compliance side, that they know what they should be doing with their data transparency, with their data records, and making sure that they're being good stewards of that information. And so, it is one of those events where we bring everybody together. There's all players in the industry coming together in one event. And it's a lot of fun to see everybody interacting because there's always somebody there for you to talk to that you didn't expect to run into. And you go home with that connection and say, oh, I've got to call that person. We can do business. We have a synergy with them. So
100%. And it's like speed dating for, lead generation. I mean,
exactly.
One of the things you get, and I've had, I don't know how many meetings out in the hallways over the years attending LeadsCon, meet somebody and, while listening to a speaker, connect with them. Next thing you know, they're either buying leads from me if I'm working for an agency, or as an advertiser, I'm buying from them. And it eliminates so many phone calls and awkward intros and them doing their sales pitch. Ultimately, it just comes down to being able to connect with people for a few minutes and have an honest and in front of each other conversation in order to increase revenue for your business or brand.
Exactly. Yeah. I was just going to say, I think that is ultimately the biggest advantage of any in-person event is having that face-to-face contact, having that handshake, and really establishing that business connection right then and there. These often turn into lifelong friendships. We see a lot of the same people coming back to LeadsCon year after year because they do find value in it. And I love seeing them in the halls talking to this person who they just met for the first time at the last LeadsCon. And, they walk away and they say, oh, we need to connect on this, and then I'll give you a call next week. And, we definitely see those relationships being built at the show, and that's the value of the event.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So you've got different tracks, and you've got different. The conferences are helpful for both B2B players and
Right.
B2C players. Talk a little bit about the tracks and paths that people can go when they attend a LeadsCon or Connect to Convert. Talk a little bit about what each of those types of relationships and speakers and expectations are built out as part of this event.
Yeah, exactly. With B2B, we see a different pathway a lot of times. It tends to be a longer, drawn-out process when you're talking about lead generation. With B2B, you tend to have higher price points, higher purchase points for whatever that purchase might be, whether it's an IT solution or something else that they're buying. But it may take longer for them to actually make that decision to make the purchase. And so there may be more lead qualification, more lead nurturing. We see a lot of talk now around B2B with account-based marketing and things that don't necessarily translate as much with B2C, especially when you're talking about very transactional type marketing. And so with B2B, those sessions that we program are very specifically geared toward somebody who is dealing with a B2B relationship. With B2C, obviously, these are companies that are, again, they may be transactional or they may be building lifetime value with their customers, but it's just a different way of engaging the consumer and turning them into a customer. And so most of what we program at LeadsCon is around B2C content, and it's around the technology that marketers are using and the various marketing channels. It's around data and things like attribution and how do you personalize your messaging, how do you take that data personalization to the next level. We obviously talk a lot around mobile and call marketing, and we talk a lot around what is important to lead generators, to those lead buyers as well. What are they looking for? And then the industry verticals, like I mentioned before, we always cover the insurance market, the education market, the lending and financial service markets. Oftentimes we'll include home services or legal services, healthcare, and we've even, touched on in the past things like solar lead generation or, power lead buying. And then with B2B, we always have a dedicated track at Connect to Convert, which is around B2B marketing. And again, we'll cover a lot of these same topics, but it may be from a slightly different angle. It may be, helping those B2B marketers foster that long-term relationship with their customer because they know it's going to take longer for them to make the sale, and they want to make sure they do it right.
Well, you will see me again, and others will see me again at LeadsCon. I'm a big fan of the event. It's the right event if you're selling something or buying something. For a performance marketer, if you're trying to increase revenue for your brand or sell to somebody increasing revenue, it's the premier place to be for for that type of service. So Warren, thank you again for being on A Shark's Perspective. I'd like to close out and ask you, where can people find out more about LeadsCon and Connect to Convert?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kenneth, thank you so much for the opportunity. You can go to leadscon.com. We typically will post regular content up there to help performance marketers on a weekly basis, but there's always information up there that will lead you to our events and how to find out more about them as well. You can also follow us on social media, either on Facebook or through Twitter, #LeadsCon or #Connect to Convert. And our next event is Connect to Convert in Boston. We're going to be there October 3rd through 5th. We'll be at the Westin Waterfront, Boston, and really looking forward to being in a new city, advancing Connect to Convert to the next level, and we hope you guys can join us. It's going to be a great show.
Great. Looking forward to it. And Warren, thank you again, and best of luck.
Thanks so much. Take care.
So there was my conversation with Warren Pickett, the content director for LeadsCon and Connect to Convert, the leading performance marketing conferences for B2C and B2B marketers. 3 key takeaways that I found from the conversation were, first, LeadsCon is an event that fosters a community to do business, see new technologies, network with customers. It's about performance marketing for buyers and suppliers. It's speed dating for lead generation for advertisers, agencies, and publishers. Second, when you look at the audience, the speakers and the topics, it's just different than other conferences. You see a lot of buying and purchasing powers made by the types of people needed, making the types of decisions needed. Regardless of the speaker, the content revolves around framing the perspective with how that subject, whether it's SEM, SEO, social media, online reputation management, etc., it's how that subject affects customer acquisition. Third, challenges for lead generation with scrutiny, regulation, and compliance continue to become more challenging every day. Marketing automation and technologies with future trends in mobile, for example, continue to change at ever-increasing speeds as consumer habits continue to evolve. And as the industry evolves, you as a marketer need to be at the forefront of being able to deal with those kinds of challenges, as well as being able to connect with the right kind of partners and technologies. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. And thank you for taking the time to listen to our conversation regarding another one of the many components that makes up marketing today. And join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.